questions, answers, guidance, knowledge. I pray that, Father, you please take absolute control in Jesus' name. You said in all our ways we shall acknowledge you, we direct our path. We ask our Lord, you direct our path this evening in Jesus' name. Thank you, precious Father. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. We want to especially thank Becky for making it out here within such a short notice. Thanks, Sonia, for reaching out to Becky as well. So I know there are lots of questions for you, Becky, and it's good to start on time. We will have some folks joining us online as well, so we would read questions to you when you get to that time. You want to give room for questions. So I'd like to welcome Becky now to speak to us. Yeah, Becky, let's put our hands together for her. Thank you, Becky.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. So, hi everyone. My name is Becky. It's very honored to be here to give this presentation today. And before this presentation, I would like to introduce myself first. So, my name is Becky. I'm the RCIC Regulated Immigration Consultant with Relaunch Immigration. And before our presentation, I would like to know you a bit. So I would know like what kind of background you are and what kind of questions you may ask me. So today's presentation, I will be focused on 3 parts. The first one is about the postgraduate work permit. And the second one, I will focus on the spousal open work permit. And the last one, we will talk about the recommendation for the Nova Scotia international graduates, like what kind of permanent resident application I will recommend. So I hope after today's presentation, you all will have gained the insight about the Nova Scotia immigration and have the idea about what you can prepare for your next like permanent resident applications. Okay, so first one, maybe we will go from this side and then to this side, we will just like maybe introduce yourself, then maybe from you. Oh, sorry, they have
My name is Fumi.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh, you can say a little bit about your background, like you are international students or you are foreign worker?
I'm a spouse, and my husband finished last year at school.
At CBU?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
My name is Fisayo, and I'm a international
students.
Yeah. At
Okay.
High school.
Yeah. Oh, you're still high school? Yeah. Oh. Nice to meet you.
My name is Feromi, and
hi.
I am an international student.
Okay.
My name is Jimmy, and I'm an international student.
International students at CBU.
Yeah, sure.
Femi, work permit.
A work permit.
Yeah.
Spousal open work permit? Postgraduate.
Postgraduate work permit.
Okay, my name is BC. I just graduated.
Yeah.
So
you're about to apply for the postgraduate.
Well, I did apply already.
Okay. Thank you.
My name is Bukola. I also just graduated, so I already applied for my postgraduate work permit.
Okay. So you would like to know more about the immigration, like permanent resident?
My name is Adeze, international student, CBU.
ICBU.
My name is Soniari Walker.
My name is ST. I just graduated also and applied for my PGWP.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Tokbe. So I'm on pistol record. My wife is just finished her program.
Oh.
Applying for PGWP.
PGWP.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Francisca, international student, CBU.
SCBU.
My name is Bennett. I just finished from CBU.
Okay.
and at the verge of applying for PGW.
Okay. Thank you.
My name is Adebiolu Afemi Stephen. I am on postgraduate work permit, and
Okay.
my wife is on visitor's record. Thank you.
Our visitor. Okay, so most of you holding the postgraduate work permit and the spousal open work permit. So today our presentation will cover all of them. So first part, we will talk about the postgraduate work permit. And after that, we will talk about the spousal open work permit, about the updates, about the policies, and also the last but not the least, we talk about the permanent resident. We're not gonna talk about every programs, immigration programs of Nova Scotia, but instead we will talk about two main permanent resident programs in Nova Scotia, which is highly recommended for the international graduate. So before our presentation, I would like to introduce our company first. Our company name is Relaunch Immigration. And we have two RCICs like me, like regulated immigration consultants. And I'm also the Nova Scotia recruiter license, so I can recruit foreign workers for the employers legally. And we are a team of senior professionals with over 10 years of experience, like dealing with documents. Mostly we deal with permanent resident applications. And our office locates in BC, Vancouver, and also Halifax in Nova Scotia. But my physically, I live in Sydney. So if you want to book consultation with me in person, I could meet you in Sydney too. And we serve the clients all over the world. Like every year, we have helped like hundreds of clients to apply for the permanent resident and some for the temporary resident. And we're good at dealing with lots of like refusals and complicated cases. And we also proudly partner with other reputable institutions like CALC and NASCAR and even CBU. And before we talk about today's presentation, I would like to ask you one question. Do you know what is a NOC and tier? Because when we talk about even spousal open work permit, we talk a lot about the NOC and tier. Do you have idea about those? Yes, so the NOC, they have a series of digits. The NOC, it's a national occupation classification. That's Canada's national system to describe the occupations. And tier used to describe the skill level to do this job. Tier, there is tier 0 to tier 5. Usually the tier 0 is the management occupations like manager, senior management. And tier 1, usually it's an occupation, they require a university degree. And tier 2 and 3, they usually require a college diploma. And tier 4 usually require a high school. And tier 5, usually there is no formal education required, maybe just some training. Next one, we will talk about the postgraduate work permit. So the postgraduate work permits, I will just divide it to 3 parts, like most likely the clients or maybe you have the questions about. So the first one is according to the new policy, like how long the postgraduate work permit will be valid. So for the master degree, master and above, so no matter once the NUNS is over 8 months, then you will get like a 3-year postgraduate work permit. No matter your master degree is like 1 year or 1.5 years, you will all be eligible for the 3-year postgraduate work permit. And for all other programs, they still like before. So if you have finished like 2 years or above, then of the study, then you will be eligible for the 3-year postgraduate work permit. But if you only finish like 1 year college certificate, then you will be only eligible for the 1 year postgraduate work permit. And if you finish, like I finished 2 different certificates, then I can combine both and to be eligible maybe for the 3-year postgraduate work permit. And what about if your passport expires before your postgraduate work permit? Like when I apply for the postgraduate work permit, my passport only be valid for like 1.5 years. And I submit my postgraduate work permit. At this situation, your postgraduate work permit will only be valid for 1.5 years until your passport expires. But after you apply this, after you obtain this postgraduate work permit, after you update your passport, you can submit another postgraduate work permit, and you can demonstrate what reasons, and then they will extend this postgraduate work permit for fully 3 years. And the second one we were asked the most is, can I work full-time? So you work full-time, it depends on when you apply for this postgraduate work permit. When the period of time, when you graduate, the graduate time is, first one, you get the last final score, or you get the completion letter. So whichever the first, that will be your graduate date. So after you graduate from your study, before you apply for your postgraduate work permit, during that period of time, you cannot work. You have to wait until you submit your postgraduate work permit application, and your study permit specific says you can work off campus, and that time you can work until your postgraduate work permit decision. And that period of time you accumulate your work hours will count it toward your permanent resident applications. And the third one, we will talk about the legal status in Canada. So no matter what, when you apply for your postgraduate work permit, not only apply for the postgraduate work permit, all the time you stay in Canada, you have to maintain the legal status. Why I mention about this is like some people, they may have like when they apply for the postgraduate work permit, but their study permit not long enough, maybe like a couple of days or even a couple of weeks, they will expire before they apply for the postgraduate work permit. At this situation, you must apply for the extension of your study permit first, and then apply for your postgraduate work permit. Have any questions regarding this? Okay, and there are 2 days you'll be mindful to apply for your postgraduate work permit. The first one is 90 days. It's after you graduate, like we just mentioned before. So the graduation date, it depends on whichever the first, that's your graduation. So after you graduate from your program, you will have 90 days to apply for your postgraduate work permit in Canada, because after you graduate, after 90 days you graduate, your study permit will be expired, even though it says maybe expire in 2026, but after you graduate, it will expire within 90 days. But for the postgraduate work permit, for example, I go back to my country and I apply postgraduate work permit outside of Canada, then I will have 180 days to apply for the postgraduate work permit. Any questions? The 180 days or 90 days? The 180 days is after you graduate, you have 180 days to apply for your postgraduate work permit. But if you are in Canada to apply for it, you'll be mindful because your study permit will expire after you graduate. It will expire with 90 days.
Sorry, I have a question online.
Yeah.
And the question is, when you apply for the second time after passport renewal,
Yeah.
will the applicant pay another fee?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
They have to pay another work permit and open work permit holder fee both.
Okay, thank you.
You are welcome. And the next one is a postgraduate work permit. Most of you may likely know, since the November last year, you have the study permit. You have the language requirement to apply for the postgraduate work permit. So if you graduate from the bachelor or above, you need to meet the language of CLB 7. That's band 6. Every part's band 6 in IELTS and band 7 in CELPIP. And if you graduate in any other university program, you also need to meet CLB 7. And if you graduate from a college or any other program, then you need to meet the requirement of CLB 5. We'll just give a simple checklist to apply for the postgraduate work permit. The first one about your personal documents, like your passport, your photo, and from the school, you need to obtain the letter of completion letter, and your transcript to prove you were full-time study, and also your legal status approvement, that's a current study permit or your visitor record. And additional, maybe if anything a little bit vague you would like to explain, then you need to prepare the explanation later. Do we have any questions regarding the postgraduate work permit? So.
This week in the office, I had a lot of inquiries as to this because there are a lot of people who have not yet passed their English exams. And so that's, causing a major delay in their application. But there's this narrative, I don't know where it came from, but it's been going around the community that you can apply with the English exam that you didn't pass with, and then before a decision is made, and probably you write again and you pass, then you raise a web form with
to update.
Can that be done, or do you find it tricky? That's just my question.
Yeah, this is a little bit tricky. I would say this will depend on the officer, because we have submit like a temporary resident application. Some officer, they don't really accept the new like web form you submit, because they think you have to submit the whole application for this thing. But most of the time they will accept the update, like the language. I would highly suggest if you can finish like before and submit the whole application. But if like a time is very sensitive and you almost reach the like expire date, then maybe do that. I know.
Hello, sorry, I have another question.
Okay.
Okay, so the question is, we have somebody that applied for extension and also for
postgraduate work permit.
You said?
It's a postgraduate work permit extension?
Yes, postgraduate work permit and extension. But well, all those things were done before the arrival of completion letter, but no response yet for both for the two. What do you advise for that person?
Sorry, I didn't get it.
Okay, so the person applying for study permit.
Study permit.
Yes, and postgraduate work permit extension.
Okay.
Before the arrival of the completion letter. But up till now, there is no response for the study permit and postgraduate. What do you advise?
No, I think what he's trying to say is that the person has applied for study permit
Extension.
Yes.
So now the letter of permission has arrived. The person has now applied for the postgraduate work permit. No response for the study permit and no response for the
No implied status from the current postgraduate.
Yes. Yeah. So.
Do you want to answer first?
Yes. So when you apply for your study permit extension, before your study permit expire, you have the maintain status. That's still legal status in Canada, as long as you don't leave Canada. And within that maintain status, you can apply for your postgraduate work permit. I don't know whether this answer that question, but if you say like what to do, it's just wait. If they already apply for the postgrad, they cannot work. They cannot work. Maintain when you will have the maintain status to apply for your postgraduate work permit. At this point, you cannot work until your postgraduate work permit decision.
So can person do anything to trigger the study permit?
No, at all.
You can raise a waive form like to see whether they can speed up. But if you only apply for your postgraduate work permit with the maintain status, you cannot work until the postgraduate work permit decision.
So I had a case this past week where someone wanted to apply for his postgraduate work permit, but his study permit extension was not yet approved.
There were a lot of people in this situation.
Yes, and so he was on maintained status.
Yeah.
And then when he was filling the PGWP, you know the section where they ask you students from when to when?
Yes.
That 2 dates wouldn't take any dates, which is the past. It has to be a future date. And so his current study permit that he had was expired that day, which is 30th of April.
Yes.
And so the system, wouldn't take that date.
Yes.
But he put the next day, which was May 1st.
No, you cannot do that.
Okay.
No. Because you cannot confuse IRCC. Because what exactly on your study permit, it has to be exactly the date. But what you can do is actually that's a technical problem. Is on that form, they have study permit, work permit, and there is a one section says other. Choose the other and says maintain status. And the maintain status will be on the day you will submit your application, and you can put longer dates than today, then that form will be fine. And that's legal because you are maintain status after you submit the application. But you cannot write a random date on that because that's not study permit expire date.
So excuse me, my question is how long does the postgraduate work permit take before decision is taken?
About 4 to 5 months.
So does it mean the person will not work till that decision is taken?
Yeah, if you have valid study permit when you apply for your postgraduate work permit, and your study permit is specific, right? States like you can work off campus, then you can accumulate the hours.
Okay.
Yeah, and that counted towards your permanent resident application. Okay. And actually, if they longer processing your postgraduate work permit, then after you obtain your postgraduate work permit, it's most likely the date will be the day you received your postgraduate work permit. So you have longer postgraduate work permit valid.
Okay.
Hi.
I think I need a clarification. Let me just paint a scenario. If I'm to graduate December 2025 and my study permit says expiring date is June 2026, and after December 2025, I apply for postgraduate work permit. I'm trying to understand, is it that I'm not going to work if I don't get a response for my postgraduate work permit application as say July 2026?
No. It's different situation. Like your situation, you say you will graduate in December 2025.
Yes.
And if you apply for your postgraduate work permit at that time, and you still have valid study permit, right?
Yes.
And your study permit states you can work on and off campus on your study permit.
Yeah.
Then after you submit your postgraduate work permit, you can work.
Okay.
You can.
So if I don't get feedback on my application for postgraduate work permit till July 2026, will I still be permitted to work?
Yeah, you can work.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's only the period of time, like before you submit your postgraduate work permit, but you already graduate. During that period of time, you cannot work. It must be after you submit your postgraduate work permit.
My clarification goes back to the previous question you answered. So in a scenario where the study permit expired March 30th, 2025, the letter of completion came out April 28th, 2025. And of course, we've applied for extension since last year, which is still pending. Now, in this situation, from my own understanding and from what you explained, it means that one has to stop working until there is either a response on the extension or the postgraduate work permits.
It's not on the extension of the study permit. I have to wait the decision on the postgraduate work permit.
So the extension no longer, like, it's no longer valid, even if it's approved.
Yeah, it will be approved, but that doesn't give you anything like you can work off campus or anything. Okay. You still have to wait the postgraduate work permit decision to work. That's what I mean.
Okay.
The study permit, they will still be valid if they approve your decision. Okay. That doesn't mean doesn't valid, but you have to wait the decision on your postgraduate work permit to work.
So that authorization to work that the other people have gotten will not apply in that situation.
Sorry.
You know, like for those that still have their study permits valid, as that's when the letter of completion was released. You know, when they apply for the PGWP, they get this authorization to work, you know, like from IRCC. But in my case, I did not receive that authorization to work, probably because my study permit already expired. My extension is yet to be approved. So what I'm saying is, do I have to wait till when I get the PGWP approval?
Yes.
Even if it takes like I
That's
can't work
what I
any
mean.
work.
Yes.
Wow.
You have confirmed many times. Yes. Have to wait.
Okay. So even when even if the extension, let's say the extension gets approved in the
you still have to wait the postgraduate.
Still have to wait for the postgraduate. Okay. So what happens to my spouse in that situation?
I will talk about spouse after.
Okay. Thank you.
Excuse me.
No.
Sorry.
Sorry. Yes, just to be very, crystal on this. So this scenario that you mentioned is only for people that don't have a valid study permit after they are done with their studies, right?
Sorry, I cannot. Yeah.
So I'm saying that this scenario that you mentioned is only for those people that don't have a valid status after they have completed their studies, right? It's not generally for people that still have a status, right? It doesn't apply to them. Just to be clear, because most of my friends that are done with school, they apply for their postgraduate work permit and then they get an acknowledgement from RCC and then they start working.
Yes.
Now, the scenario she mentioned just now is only because of the fact that the study permit expired. That's why she can work, right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
So, like I said before, if you have valid study permit and you apply for your postgraduate work permit with a valid study permit, and the study permit states you can work off campus, then you can accumulate hours right after you submit the postgraduate work permit application.
I still need clarification on that. The clarification I need is, if the study permit is just like they've submitted since last year, what if it's approved on Monday? Can't the person work again?
No, you have to wait until the postgraduate work permit. Because when you submit this application, you always maintain status. What you can do, you can wait until like maybe 90 days. Wait until the last minute to submit your postgraduate work permit. If during this period of time you obtain your study permit, then you will have a chance. You can work, accumulate the hours It all depends on when you submit your postgraduate work permit. But if after you submit, then it got approved, the study permit doesn't do anything, because when you apply for the postgraduate work permit, you will maintain status. That matters. Hi.
Okay, so I have a few questions online. And the first one is
Lots of questions about the postgraduate work permit.
yeah, no, this question is PMP still available in Nova Scotia?
Yes.
It is, okay. Then the second question is had the name change last year, which I notify IRCC. I was given a new study permit with the new name. Yesterday, I did my PGWP with my current name, but my authorization letter came with my previous name. Is there any challenge?
Because your anything you submit to IRCC, no matter your previous passport, your previous name, your previous marriage, you all will be in the system. So I would say maybe consider contact IRCC and tell them the issue. They put the previous name on the letter and ask them whether they can revise it, because he or she may apply for the same number, I assume. If the name cannot match, maybe they will have problem. If this situation, contact the IRCC.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So the next one, we will talk about the spousal open work permit. I guess this one also have lots of questions regarding this, even more than postgraduate work permit, because it's so confused, I know. They keep changing. So there are two scenarios. Your spouse can get the spousal open work permit. So first one is if you are international student. So if you are the international students and you study full-time in the master or the PhD or some bachelor degree, your spouse will be eligible for the spousal open work permit. This is very straightforward, everybody can understand. And there are some bachelor programs like the Bachelor of Law, like JD and LLB, and Doctor of Medicine, MD, and Doctor of and Pharmacy, and Bachelor of Science of Nursing, and Bachelor of Education, and Bachelor of Engineering. Those bachelor degree, their spouse will be eligible for the spousal open work permit. Those ones are very straightforward. And if you study in the like a diploma, like in NSCC or other bachelor degree, the spouse cannot apply for the spousal open work permit. And the most likely we will talk about is a foreign worker one. We will have this situation like if you have the postgraduate work permit, when can you apply for the spousal open work permit? So first one, after you graduate, you apply for the postgraduate work permit. IRCC stated that before you obtain your postgraduate work permit successfully, the spouse cannot apply for the postgraduate work permit, spousal open work permit. So answer some question. I may be asked by some people, can I submit my postgraduate work permit and spousal open work permit together? No, the answer is no. You have to wait until you get your postgraduate work permit, and then the spouse can apply for the spousal open work permit. But there are some limits on the spousal open work permit. When you study, you were the international student. But after you graduate, your status changed to the foreign worker. So you will be limited on the work for the foreign worker. You will be the same. So only if you are work at tier 0 and tier 1 job, or some selected tier 2 or 3 job, then you do this job full time, then your spouse will be eligible for the spousal open work permit. It's not like before, like I apply for the postgraduate work permit, I can submit together. And once I get tier 0 to tier 3 job full time, then my spouse will be eligible for the spousal open work permit. It's not like that anymore. You will be limited to tier 0 to 1 or selected tier 2 to 3 job. And the tier 2 to 3 job is also aligned with what right now Canada is in the priority, like the education, trade, like those industry. So any questions regarding this? I know I will get lots of questions on this. Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the insight so far. It's very informative. I'm curious about what you just said now. You said the tier 2. Does it have to be a full-time job or a part-time for the tier 2? For example, if the wife is probably, if she has a tier 2 job and that should be enough to apply with the family, right?
Yeah.
Does it have to be a full-time job or it could be a part-time job? Being students,
They didn't like specified on this, but the previous one, it's full-time. But right now, we still have people like they are part-time job to apply this. But full-time will be the best option.
From your own experience, people are applying based on their part-time roles in tier 2.
You still can try, yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sorry, I have another question here. Yeah, the question is, a friend mistakenly applied for work permit extension with an existing employer. The authorization letter came, and it was given a closed work permit. Can she withdraw and reapply?
What?
Okay, so somebody mistakenly they apply for a work permit extension with a present
open
employer.
work permit extension.
Yes. So, however, they were given a closed work permit, maybe for the kind of job they were doing. So the question is, can she withdraw and reapply?
They refused?
They accepted, but however, they were given closed work permit.
Oh, so they apply for the work permit and they already received the confirmation of the work permit, but not get the decision yet. So whether they can still work?
No, they were given closed work permit. That means that they can only work for the existing employer.
Yes.
So the question is that, can they withdraw that work permit and reapply? More like to be able to get an open work permit.
No.
But they cannot.
No. If they holding the
closed
work permit and they apply for the extension, it's still closed work permit. But if they meet some certain situations, they want to apply for the open work permit, that's another story. But if they apply for the extension, it will be still a closed work permit.
Can I ask?
I think they have another one. Just wait a minute.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
Okay, my question goes for children. If you have your study permit expires this May.
This May.
Yeah, and you've gotten your letter of completion. You want to apply for postgraduate work permit. So what happened to the children?
The children can apply for their study permit extension with you.
With you?
Yes.
No, are you meant to apply for extension of study permits, or you'll be applying for your postgraduate work permits, then you apply extension of study permits for the children?
Yes, you can submit together.
Together?
Yeah,
okay,
it's just spousal open work permit. They changed. You cannot submit. You have to wait until.
Okay, that's.
There are some limits on the spousal open work permit.
Please, I have another question here. So the question is this: my husband SOWP will expire in July, along with my study permit. Can he apply for a work permit extension after I apply for my PGWP?
I just now mentioned. Have to wait until the decision made on the postgraduate work permit.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
If I was given a full-time position and a letter was issued in the course of filling my postgraduate work permit, can I add the letter while applying for the postgraduate work permit?
Sorry?
Like a job offer letter. Can I include the letter?
You can.
Okay.
But that doesn't really matter because Postgraduate work permit is open work permit. You can work for any employer, so you don't need to include the offer letter. That's why just now I give you the checklist of postgraduate work permit. I never mentioned about job offer.
Okay.
Because this is
Also-
not mandatory. But if you would like to include, yeah, it's fine. You can.
Okay. Also, is the visa page on my passport? Am I supposed to include it to the application?
No, it's just
too?
permit.
All right. Okay. Another question: if my passport is going to expire 2027, and I would want the three years postgraduate the 3 years work permit, can I apply for a new passport? Can I renew my passport and then use the new passport?
Yes.
Or am I supposed to use the two passports? Is it allowed?
Yeah, you can. You just mentioned the previous passport, it was expired, and you submit both passport and submit the postgraduate work permit application.
Yeah, I am. Okay. Yes.
But she wanted to see if she can get
A new one.
with a longer period.
Yeah, this depends on your country when they will allow you to update your new passport. If you get a new passport, you can submit both to IRCC.
Okay.
But this depends on the country because some country they only allow like a half a year you renew your passport. It depends on your country.
All right. Thank you.
You are welcome. Yeah. 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 Because your previous study permit, you have your passport number. That was a previous passport number, so you need to match. You are welcome.
I have another question. Is regarding the postgraduate work permit. In the checklist you mentioned, I don't think you mentioned the medicals.
Oh, the medical.
Yeah. So regarding the medicals, there's this update I think I saw online regarding the validity of the medicals, which is
5 years.
now 5 years. But then there's this saying going around, especially for people in the public facing roles,
Yes.
like education.
Education. If you work for the kids or you take care of the older, you need another medical. Yes. Because if you don't do the medical, they may not request you do the medical, but they will state you are excluded working with children and taking care of seniors, the health industry. So if you want to work with the children or like a health industry, you need to submit a new medical. That's why I didn't mention because that's an option. It's not everyone want to work with those health and education.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Any questions?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's off what we're talking about.
I applied for extension for work permit,
Sorry, what kind of work permit?
open work permit.
Open work permit, spousal open work permit?
Yes. And the extension is not out. They gave me to work till May.
Yeah.
And in the letter they said I can keep working.
Until decision made.
Yes. But my wife has applied for PW and
That's another question I always being asked. Is like I would say everybody's permit and everybody's application is a separate. If your spousal open work permit will be valid until even September or October, and your spouse, they need to apply for the postgraduate work permit in May, that doesn't affect anything of your spousal open work permit. It only affected if you will depend on her to apply for a new, like a spousal open work permit or anything, then that will be affect you. But you can work or do anything until the decision made until your spousal open work permit.
okay. But the decision for the extension is not out yet. It was just a letter given to me to work till May.
You can work until the decision made.
Okay.
That's the maintained status.
All right.
Yeah, sorry, I have another question here. The question is, if the primary applicant applied for SOWP and it was not approved, can they apply for a closed work permit with their employer?
Yes, they can. They have maintained status. With the maintained status, you can apply for any permits. You can change from open work permit to closed work permit. All are fine.
Okay, another one, sorry, before you go ahead. This one says that, please, my study permit extension has lingered for 8 months now. I actually applied for this extension since September 2024. Am I supposed to apply for my PGWP?
When they graduate, and depends on, I cannot give specific like a time when you will apply for your postgraduate work permit, because like we said, you apply for your study permit extension, you have the maintained status. So that's still legal status in Canada. And just after you graduate, you have 90 days to apply for your postgraduate work permit. Within that time frame, don't get like too long to apply for it. That's whenever you want to apply for it. If you want to wait a little bit longer to apply for your postgraduate work permit, it's fine. Just don't work. But I don't give suggestions on what time or when you can apply for. Just like keep it valid. Don't miss the time, then that would be fine.
Thank you.
Okay, so now that spouses all can only apply for either visitor's record or, visitor's visa, or what's the other thing called? The closed work permits to remain in the country. I've had questions where someone said, if my current work permit as a spouse is about to expire and I apply for the visitor's record, there's no maintained status with visitor's record, right? Because does that mean that the person has to leave the country?
No.
Until it's approved before they can stay back?
This situation is a little bit different. If they apply for the visitor, they still can stay in Canada waiting for the decision, but their condition changed. Because the maintained status is when you apply for the extension of your current work permit, you can keep the same conditions until the decision made. But once you change your work permit to the visitor, you can stay in Canada until the decision made, but you have to stop working right away after you submit the VR. Any other questions? Sorry, yeah.
Okay, when it comes to the spouse open work permit, so if you are working in an institution and you decided, and you have probably your spouse open work permit is about to expire, and then you decide to, okay, I need an extension, and due to the fact that my husband is not in tier 0, 1, 2, 3 jobs, can you ask your employer to see the possibility of if they can get you a closed open work permit? And then if you do get that, I don't know if that's possible. If you do get that, does it changes anything?
Yes. It's all different situation, different types of application. So if you apply for the spousal open work permit, you are the dependent of your spouse. So your spouse has a limit. They have to meet certain situation for you to be eligible for the spousal open work permit. If you would like to apply for the work permit, but it's a closed work permit, it's totally on you. It's your relationship with the employer. So that would depend on the employer, whether either they apply for the LMIA, or they will be eligible for some PR application. Then for you to be eligible for the work permit, it's separate applications. So at that situation, you don't depend on your spouse anymore. So no matter what this work they do.
Yeah. Okay.
For those people, just like you said that the people that want to, anybody that wants to apply for PGWP inside Canada has 90 days to do so. While the people, anybody that travel out of Canada have 180 days.
Yes.
So like the language benchmark that they put now, what if the person didn't qualify for the next 3 months for the 90 days? What will happen to the PGWP applicant?
They can apply outside of Canada. They can choose.
So will the person have to travel out of Canada because of the 90 days windows?
Yeah.
Let's use mic.
So yes.
Sorry, I have a question here.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
so, okay. So the question is, can I apply for my PGWP along with my 3 children?
Yes, with children. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Becky, I have a question. So based on what you said,
I will just correct one thing, just like you say that question. So if you have the study permit, it's within 90 days because it will expire. And some officers strict on that, while some are not. Because I still have clients that after 90 days, they submit the postgraduate work permit, it still get approved. But some officer may notice that, and you may be in trouble with that because 90 days your study permit will expire. But there is one situation. How about if I'm the visitor record to apply for it? Then I don't have this 90 days limitation because I'm not holding the study permit. I'm the VR. Then I still have 180 days to apply for the postgraduate work permit. Does it make sense? It's only limit to the study permit because after 90 days you graduate, the study permit will expire. That's why 90 days. But generally speaking, you have 180 days to apply for the postgraduate work permit. So if I have the VR, I can apply within 180 days. It's just if I have the VR status and apply for the postgraduate work permit, I cannot work until the decision made. I know it's a little bit complicated.
it is. So I have a client who graduated, I thought sometime last year. She's written the English exam almost 7 times and has not passed.
Oh my God.
And the time has passed already. The 90 days has passed. Do you think she should leave the country to extend to the 180 days, but to be able to see if she can pass the exam before applying? Because that situation is very critical, like over 7 times and has not passed the exam yet.
Yeah, I would suggest
She
like
should leave the
Leo.
country
Yeah.
to extend for the 180.
Yeah, because another way is you change your study permit to VR. But since she already passed that many times, I don't want she feel so nervous about the legal status in Canada and also the language. What about the VR also refused? And she will worry too much about like 2 things happen together. So maybe the best choice is leaving the country and apply outside of Canada. And maybe that will be a relief for her. She just concentrate on the English preparation.
Okay, and then another thing you said is almost every application is dependent on the case manager handling your case, right? I think you said that. Like, it depends on who is handling your case.
Yes.
Okay.
So we can go on with the permanent resident now? Okay.
Hello. My question is, I have applied for the postgraduate work permit, but I have 2 kids that have not applied for their study permits. Can I still apply for them?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's a separate. Yeah, and they apply for the postgraduate work permit. They still can apply for the study permit. They just mention I'm like having this postgraduate work permit in processing, and I would like to. But it all depends on when will you get your postgraduate work permit, because their study permit length is depend on how long your postgraduate work permit, like the length.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, sorry, I have a question here. The question is, since my husband has to wait for a decision to be made on my PGWP before applying for extension, what if a decision is not made until after July, the expiring date? What will happen?
The spouse has to apply for the visitor record to keep the legal status and to waiting for the decision on the postgraduate work permit.
Okay, thank you.
There is no limit time.
I don't know. I think this question is almost like off what we're discussing right now, but let me just ask. If my visa is expiring September this year.
Visa or permit?
Visa, just visa. And no, visa. So, and my biometrics is expiring June 2026. So the question I'm asking, if I apply for my visa now, renewal of my visa, I want to know if they will give me if the visa they're going to give me will be valid after June 2026, or is it going to stop at June 2026?
Visa is another story. It's very different from permit.
Yes.
So your visa, their validity depends on your permit. Like how long your permit will be, most likely your visa will be. Sometimes they will issue you longer the visitor visa. So for you can enter and outside of Canada, sometimes it will be longer than your permit. But it doesn't have anything to do with your biometric. When the time is very close to the expire of your biometric, they may request another biometric for you to do. That will be valid for another 10 years. But your visa doesn't do anything with a biometric.
Okay.
It's on your permit.
So if I apply for my visa renewal now, is it going to be the same date with my study permit date?
Yes. So you can apply maybe after your postgraduate work permit if you don't plan to leave Canada.
Okay.
Most likely they will be that. But sometimes some officer, they will give you longer. They may give you 5 years visitor to get in and out, but it all depends. Some just give you the time, stay the same time with the study permit.
Yes, I want to ask this question. The question is, like now, they've really extended the processing time for the SOWP, both initial and extension. And I discovered, like now, they said April 30th, the update is 227 days. So now, they now say, okay, if you go outside of your country, like if I go back to Nigeria now, I apply, it's just 9 weeks. So I'm thinking that, okay, if I want to apply for my SOWP now, can I just go back to Nigeria? Since I have a valid visa to enter or go out, can I go back to Nigeria and apply outside of Canada and use my visa to come in, waiting for the decision?
The inside of Canada and outside of Canada with different process. When you apply something, let's say I apply the postgraduate work permit outside of Canada, it will be the embassy, the IRCC office outside of Canada, like in your home country to process your application. It's not IRCC in Canada. So after the process, like if you got approved, they will notify you, you need to get your passport there. They will have the visa on it to be for you to be eligible to come back to Canada. It's different process. But if you apply in Canada, it will be like Ottawa or some other like in Canada IRCC office processing this. And after it was approved, they will send you the permit to your address. So it's different process. So if you ask me, can I change? Then at that time, when you come back to Canada, you need to notify IRCC. I'm back to Canada now. So that may sometimes it may take longer processing time. And also, there's one situation, like if I apply in Canada for my postgraduate work permit, I can have my maintained status and work in Canada, right? At that time, waiting for the decision. But the maintained status will stop once you leave the country. So when you get back, you don't have the maintained status. When you get back, you only have the visitor status, and you cannot work.
The processing time has been extended to 227 days. So instead of staying inside Canada to apply, if I use my visitor visa to travel out of Canada to go and apply from Nigeria,
yeah,
because that one would take like 9 weeks.
Yeah.
So can I, if after applying in Nigeria, that is outside, I apply outside of Canada, what if I come back with my visitor visa and when it's approved, I cannot go back to get the sticker?
Yeah, that's answer that. If you still in processing, during the processing, you come back to Canada, then you need to notify IRCC, I'm back to Canada now. Then they will change your processing back to Canada. Yeah. But if you already got the postgraduate work permit approved, then you come back. That's another story. You don't need to notify IRCC. You can come back anytime.
Well, like I read on LinkedIn about some RCIC were discussing it, that some RCIC in Canada are now using it. When they want to get somebody like a visitor, they want to get him the close work permit, they will ask the person go out.
Oh,
Go out of,
that's
and they will ask
another.
the person to come back immediately, maybe after 2 days after applying outside, and they will keep the person inside Canada. Why the application will be showing that the person applied from outside of Canada.
What did you say? You say IRCC said what?
No, as in some RCIC,
Yeah.
they will ask their client if they want to apply for close work permit to go outside of Canada.
That's another story. That's another story. That's not postgraduate work permit. It's because they may want to apply, maybe from visitor, convert their visitor to be the work permit. That's another story because right now, Canada, at the port of entry, you cannot exchange your work permit anymore. So you need to go outside of Canada to apply for your work permit. But it's not for the postgraduate work permit because the postgraduate work permit, you can both apply in Canada and outside of Canada. I don't want to make it very complicated, but postgraduate work permit is like that situation. If you want to apply outside of Canada, you can stay outside of Canada until it's approved, or you can just apply in Canada. That will be easier and faster.
Thank you. I have some few questions here too. The first one is there any other pathway that can be suggested for spouses waiting for approval of postgraduate work permit that can help to get work permit?
Yeah, they have to wait until the postgraduate work permit approved to apply.
Is there any other pathway?
Pathway?
Yes, that can be suggested.
There's no pathway for work permit. It has to be after the postgraduate work permit approved.
Okay.
There's no any pathway.
Okay. Okay. Another question is, what happens to our spouses since we can't apply for them with our postgraduate work permit?
What happened
to our spouses since we cannot apply for them with our postgraduate work permit?
That's your choice, right? So you take the risk. You just deserve what you choose. So you will get refused, then you get refused. I don't say you will 100% get refused, but IRCC states that you have to wait until the postgraduate work permit approved to apply for the spousal open work permit. But if you still choose you want to apply at the same time, you choose the risk.
Even despite the feedback in tier 0 or tier 1,
Doesn't matter because IRCC specific states that on the website. You have to wait. If you are holding the postgraduate work permit, you must wait until the decision made on your postgraduate work permit and then apply for the spousal open work permit. It's different from before. Before you can apply together, but right now it's a little bit different because Canada has been dealing with lots of issues and even the House. So they try their best to decrease the temporary resident.
Okay, sorry, let me ask one more question before I will allow you, because I know that.
Thank you.
Just one more question.
Yeah.
And the question is, I am currently on study permit.
Yeah.
And I qualify for teacher pathway based on the new pathway.
What pathway?
No,
Teacher pathway.
Yeah, teacher pathway, yes.
You mean the express entry? Education category.
Yeah, so the
Express
question is,
entry.
can I apply for PR using that route or wait till I graduate?
Wait until what?
I graduate. Like the person is still in school.
If you meet, so people sometimes they don't understand is express entry. They have the category based, but even the category based, they say like you have at least 6 months experience to be eligible for the specific category. But you still, the most important thing, you need to be in the pool. So you need to meet the express entry requirement to be eligible for the pool first, and then you meet the requirements of the category based. So I don't know the one who asked this situation. I don't know her or him, his background. So I cannot see whether they can apply for it. Because this needs like a assessment on the whether you meet the eligibility to be access to the pool. If you are in the pool already, and then yes, you can apply for this. You will be wait until they select you. And the good news for the education category is on Thursday, I believe Thursday or Friday, they have the first draw of the education, and it's only 479. And you will be invited to apply for the express entry. Yeah, if they meet the requirement of the express entry, and also they meet the requirement of the education category, yes, they can wait. Maybe they will have a chance to be invited for the permanent resident.
Please, can you continue so that we'll ask questions later?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
thank you. So the next one, we will dive into the permanent resident.
Sorry, I have one question.
Okay.
So I've met some people that while they were students, they qualified for express entry. They entered the pool. They already got the interest to apply.
Like invitation
to apply, said interest, sorry. And they applied. And because they applied, they dropped out from school. So how do you speak to that kind of a situation?
There are some, they can, because they apply for the permanent resident already. They are on the road. And also, the permanent resident on the express entry, this stream is extremely fast. Like right now, all my clients who apply for the express entry or the Nova Scotia express entry, they're on the federal part. After they get invited, they all finish the permanent resident processing within 6 months. Some fastest one, they were just like for the recent, my clients, they were just approved within 1 or 2 months. So they could, but they still needs to keep the legal status. So study permit, there are some situations limit on the study permit. Even like if you're holding the study permit, you only have like 150 days. You don't actively study. If you're passing that period of time and you still didn't hear from your permanent resident, then your legal status in Canada will be in trouble. So maybe if they change their status to VR, they keep the legal status, but they drop over school. Yes, they can. It's their choice. And they already apply for the permanent resident. So, but it's as long as they keep the legal status, that's the situation for them. And next one, we talk about the Nova Scotia immigration. In today, like the permanent resident recommendation, I will just talk about two main programs, and one, I will just like briefly talk about it. And the first two I will talk about is maybe you heard a lot about the AIP program and Nova Scotia Express Entry NSEE program. And I think today I bring some like the program introduction, those things, that's AIP and the Express Entry NSEE program. First one, I will start from the Nova Scotia Express Entry program. Because just now we talk about the Express Entry, we have some questions regarding the Express Entry. I will start from this. So every province, they have a program related to Express Entry. And like BC, they have EEBC. And Nova Scotia, we have NSEE. They're all related to Express Entry. What does that mean? It means after you apply for your nominee, after you apply for your nominee approved, thank you so much. After your nominee approved, then you will get extra 600 score in your Express Entry profile. Like just now, so many people asked about the Express Entry. Can I apply? Can I do this? That will give you the extra 600 score in your Express Entry profile. That means you will be most likely the next round of the Express Entry draw, you will be invited to apply for your permanent resident. And this program is extremely recommended for the Nova Scotia international graduate, because this program is specific for Nova Scotia international graduate. For example, if I study in Nova Scotia and I graduate, but I didn't apply for the postgraduate work permit, and I have my master's degree like in Ontario, and after I graduate, I apply for the postgraduate work permit in Ontario, I am not eligible for this program. It has to be you apply for your postgraduate work permit in Nova Scotia to be eligible for this program. And I will talk about the eligibility of this program and also the people who holding the valid spousal open work permit, you will be eligible for this program too. So that's perfect for people if like the spouse is still international students and me, I'm holding the spousal open work permit, then I can start accumulate my experience and I will be the primary applicant to apply for the NSEE program. So next we will talk about eligibility of this program. So first of all, your age will be 21 to 55 years old, and you accumulate 1 year of work experience in Nova Scotia. It has to be in Nova Scotia. And the employer has to be established and register the business in Nova Scotia and actively managed in Nova Scotia, operation in Nova Scotia. And when you work for the employer, this is a very important one for Nova Scotia Express Entry, is when you work for the employer, they have been operated in Nova Scotia for at least 2 years. So before you work for them, they operated in Nova Scotia for at least 2 years already. And your job must be tier 0 to tier 3 job. Tier 0 to tier 3, it's a wide range of jobs, even like a painter, carpenter, cook, those ones. But right now, the cook, if you work for the hotel or restaurant sector, you cannot apply for the NSEE right now. There are some specific limitation on this. But any other employers, you work for them, tier 0 to tier 3 job, you can apply. And this can be a full-time job. Full-time means you work 30 hours a week and you accumulate 52 weeks and then to be eligible for the program. Or you can work part-time. I work like 15 hours a week, then I accumulate like 2 years to be eligible for the program. It both fine. And it doesn't limit on the employer. So I can work for 2 or 3 employers during the 1 year and accumulate hours. Sometimes I work part-time, sometimes I work full-time. That all will be eligible once the work is tier 2 to tier 3 job. And when you apply for this program, specific for this program, you don't need a job offer to apply, because this is once you accumulate the 1 year work experience, you will be eligible for this program. But job offer is not mandatory. It's so good, right? And you have at least, like Canada, the high school, at least high school diploma. And the language depends on your work. So if your work is tier 0 and tier 1 job, you have to meet the language requirement of CLB 7, which you already meet the requirement when you apply for your postgraduate work permit. And if it's tier 2 to tier 3 job, you have to meet the requirement of CLB 5. And when you apply for this, first of all, you need to be eligible for the express entry. You need to be in the pool. There is one program, is a Canadian experience CEC program. That's require you have at least 1 year Canada experience. So if you accumulate 1 year experience in Nova Scotia, you're already eligible for the CEC program. And that's express entry. And for this program, you have 2 steps. First one, you apply for the nominee with the Nova Scotia immigration. And after you get approved, you will get the extra 600 score in your express entry profile. And then you apply for the IRCC for your permanent resident. Any questions on this one? Cashier? No. Oh, casual? Yes. Part-time, yes. But you have to accumulate 1560 hours to be eligible for the program. But the maximum is 30 hours. You cannot work like 40 hours and then I work 40 weeks to be eligible. No, if you are over 30, they only count on the 30. But if you not more than 30, then they will count the part-time hours and you can end them until it's 1560. But you have to apply for this program within the 3 years after you graduate. Yes, within the 3 years. Yes. But the tier 4 and 5 job, like if you do like cashier or waitress, you cannot apply for this program because this is not for tier 4 and 5 job.
I get the 1,560 hours before graduating.
No, this doesn't count the hours before you graduate. Okay. This counts the hours like after you apply for your postgraduate work permit, but before you get the decision, that period of time can count toward the Nova Scotia express entry. But this time doesn't count any time you work during your full-time study and also you're self-employed. Those work experience doesn't count.
So I asked that question because there's so many people that are working in the kitchen as casual staff with Nova Scotia Health. And it's just for you to clarify, because I know the province is looking at healthcare and construction, but even as casual kitchen staff at the hospital, they can apply when they get their 1560 hours.
Yes.
Okay.
So Nova Scotia, there is one thing, and that's a very good question, because many people don't understand is when IRCC, when they specific talk something, some job not eligible, they talk about the specific job. But Nova Scotia immigration, when they talk about like a hotel and restaurant, they talk about the sector. So it's a employer sector. So if even I'm a cook, but I work for the hospital, I will be still eligible because hospital is not sector like a restaurant and hotel.
Like Iris now said, for you to be qualified as a cook, you have to be the one that will start from the, as in start from the scratch to the end. Now you can't just be helping people and say you're a cook.
Kitchen helper is not eligible because kitchen helper is tier 4 job. Only the cook is a tier 3.
So what happened in that case was Nova Scotia found out that people in Tim Hortons who were saying that they were bakers were just carrying the frozen food.
No, you
and they were
cannot
not
fool
bakers
them.
from scratch. So that's when they saw that foul play and they changed it.
You cannot fool them because they will figure out that you will be in trouble, and this could be like a punished as misrepresentation. You cannot fool with them like this.
I want to ask a question regarding the person, like, can somebody, the husband that is the spouse that is on the SOWP, can he have it? Can he create a file, SSNP file, while the wife, who is on with the principal, can create another file, as they having different SSNP files in the pool?
Yes. They can have a different express entry profile, but why they do that? Because when one will be the primary applicant, another one will be the dependent. So it's a whole case. On the like a permanent wisdom application, we don't do separate ones unless there are some specific reason. But if you ask me this question, yes, everybody can create their permanent wisdom application. But all the application programs, one will be the primary, the other, and the kids will be the dependent to, to apply. So if in some situation we will choose who will have a stronger profile or maybe more score, who will be the primary applicant. Any questions?
Thank you very much for your time. AIP program.
AIP. We will talk about AIP
Okay, we'll
soon.
talk about that.
Yes.
So for this one that you're talking about presently, the hours under studentship doesn't count.
The hours when you were full-time student, does it count towards the I want to tell you this thing. After I introduce the AIP, I will tell you why this question doesn't really matter. I will tell you about this. When I talk about the AIP program, you will understand.
Okay.
I know you're talking about the Nova Scotia experience access entry
Experience
now.
entry, yeah.
Could you please add some more detail on what is going on right now with the Nova Scotia provincial nomination? We know a lot of information is going out from other places like New Brunswick and other provinces, but there's not so much information coming out. So what's current state of things with them? We know things seems like it's a bit slow,
So right now, what the situation is, this is not a problem from Nova Scotia, actually. It's all the provinces that face the same problem. It's not only in the Nova Scotia. So it's because right now the IRCC, they are cutting the plan. No matter it's a permanent resident or the temporary resident, they're all cutting the number to be eligible. So right now, this year, they're cutting, no matter it's a provincial nominee or the AIP, no matter it's a Nova Scotia or even BC or Ontario, almost every province, they cut half of the people will be eligible for the permanent resident. So right now, every province, they take longer time and they will be extremely cautious to who will select to be approved on the permanent resident, because they only have this much people to be eligible to be approved. That's why it takes longer. And also in Nova Scotia, like the construction and health are the priority because they need lots of like construction workers and the people who do the health. So they are most likely waiting these people to apply and get them approved. And then they will select some people, like maybe in some regular jobs, and they approve your profile. So if your employer is not really in the priority, you will see a longer time to be approved. Some people are really lucky because right now it's all the processing time, even the AOR is all irregular. Some people, even their employer is not the priority, but they still being selected and approved for their permanent like nominee. But most people, they will see a longer processing time, but it's normal. And there's some rumors, so say Nova Scotia close or anything, they still in processing, and I still get some nominee approved like recently, but it's just take a longer time. Just be patient. And every province is like this now, even the BC and Ontario. And BC and Ontario, they're holding some jaws for a while. Every province is struggling on this right now.
Okay, sorry, I have like two questions there. The first one is, does the 1 year Nova Scotia experience start counting after LOC, letter of completion? Does the 1 year Nova Scotia experience
After
start
you
counting
apply for your
after
postgraduate work permit,
after
not
what?
letter of completion.
Yeah.
This has to be legally working in Canada. It's like just now what we say, talk about the postgraduate work permit. So you only accumulate work experience if you has a valid study permit when you apply for your postgraduate work permit, and the study permit states you can work on and off campus. Then that's after your postgraduate work permit, you can accumulate the hours. And so does the Nova Scotia Express Entry. That counts the hours when you legally work in Canada, accumulate the hours.
Okay, that's fine. That's good. Then the second question I have here is, if I apply for closed work permit with my employer and I get an approval, can I reapply for open work permit if my husband postgraduate work permit has been approved?
Yeah. If you have a closed work permit and then your spouse, they already approved for the postgraduate work permit and they work on some certain jobs and you eligible for the spousal open work permit, yes, you can change to the open work permit.
That's good. Thank you.
Any other questions? So we will talk about the AIP program. So the AIP program, it has 3 categories. One is for the Atlantic international graduates. And another 2 is based on your work experience. If your work is within tier 0 to 3, you are the high skilled, AIP high skilled. And if your job is tier 4, then it's intermediate skilled. And yes, tier 4 job will be eligible for the AIP program, but not eligible for the NSEE program. And to answer the question you asked me before, does it count the work experience that I accumulate during I study? This question is, if you graduate from Nova Scotia institution, like a CBU, the public institution, and you have at least like a 2-year program, you don't need any work experience to be eligible for the program. So you don't need to accumulate the work experience while you study in Nova Scotia. Because after you graduate, you have the 2-year program from the public school. And within the last 2 years, you have at least 16 months stay in Nova Scotia. And you get a job offer from the employer. It has to be AIP employer. And there are some specific requirements on the job offer. For the AIP program, you have to have the job offer from the AIP employer. So if your job is the tier 0 to tier 3 job, then it can be a term offer, but the offer has to be valid more than 1 year after you successfully get your permanent resident. So according to the processing time of the AIP, so usually if you get like a 3 or 4 years term contract with the employer, that should be fine. That's with the tier 0 to tier 3 job. But if you are doing the tier 4 job, it has to be a permanent full-time job offer. And then you can apply for the AIP program. You don't need any work experience. Does he answer that question? No? What's confused?
So I've been working with this company since last year January. So that's like a year and 3 months now. And the job is under tier 3.
Yes.
It's a tile setter job.
Yeah.
So we lay tiles.
So if right now are you studying CBU?
I'm done. I just got my completion letter last week.
Yes. And you studied the 2-year program?
Yes, I did.
You don't need any work experience. You just apply for the AIP program if you find an employer.
Yes, I have a employer.
Yeah, and you can just apply. You don't need any work experience.
No, the company is registered in Nova Scotia. No?
You will be eligible for a program now. You don't need to accumulate any work experience. Because AIP, there is one category, is specific for international graduates. If you graduate from Nova Scotia and you finish the 2-year program in Nova Scotia, CBU, and then for the last 2 years, when you finish your study, you were staying in Nova Scotia at least 16 months, right? Then you don't need any work experience. You just apply for the AIP program. You get the job offer from the employer, tier 3 job, you get the term or the permanent full-time job. Right now, you can apply for the AIP program. No, within the 2 years you study in Nova Scotia, you stay in Nova Scotia for at least 16 months.
Yes.
You need to prove that you live in Nova Scotia.
For 16 months. I just want to add as well that if your company is not AIP designated, they can be AIP designated, and there are organizations in the community that can help them through that
Yes.
process to become AIP designated.
Yes, but this program has to be AIP.
So,
but
I think they used to update the list.
yeah, right now they still have the list.
so excuse me. So what do I need to apply in this case now? What are the documents I need? What do I need to use to apply?
AIP employer,
Yes.
you need a job offer from them, and you
Okay.
need to meet the offer requirements. If tier 4 job, permanent full-time job. If tier 0 to tier 3, the offer has to be last after you become permanent resident and still last more than a year. That's a requirement of the job offer. And you need to prove, like within the 2 years you study in Nova Scotia, you have 16 months stay in Nova Scotia, like your power bills, your bank statements, those can prove.
Okay, sorry, there is a question here, just to follow up with what you said. You said for the AIP, the job offer, is it for casual, full-time, or
No.
permanent role?
Job offer has to be full-time job offer.
Full-time, okay. Then there's another question that came in, and the question is, do I need proof of fund for PR application when I get ITA via PNP nominee and still have a valid work offer?
Need what? Sorry.
So the question is, do I need proof of fund for PR application?
Fund?
Proof of fund for PR if the person still have a job offer?
Simply said, it depends on the program, but most of the program, yes, you need to show the proof of fund, both based on your family size.
Even when you have you're working somewhere.
You're working somewhere. If you AIP is fine if you have the valid work permit. You don't need to really show the proof of funds. But any other program, yes, you need to show the proof of funds.
Like PMP?
PMP has lots of different programs, but most of the programs, yes, you need to show the proof of funds based on the family size. And the family size, that proof of funds is on the IRCC website. If you type like scaled immigration proof of funds, they will show you like your family size and how much. Usually like one people, it will be more than 14,000, a rush approximately like 15,000 on your bank account.
Okay, thank you.
Serve this year, just probably because of the capping, because like prior this time, the AIP program is always, at least they say give like 6 months room, but this year it doesn't even take. I don't think it take 4 months before they close it, and they have even reduced the numbers that they are taking. Do you think in the future, in the nearest future, are they really going to make any?
In the near future, why? Why are they laughing?
No. Why they are laughing is that, since there's capping now, like probably because I know that for 2025 is closed. The AIP is closed for.
No, Nova Scotia is not closed. It's only New Brunswick closed. Nova Scotia is still in process.
So Becky, I have a question. So on the AIP, right now with Nova Scotia, you've said quite a bit about the provincial nomination. The observation is that it looks like it's a pool and they're picking people from there, maybe based on priority, like you mentioned, healthcare and the rest. Now for the AIP, I observe that it looks like a federal form.
No, the AIP is a federal program, but the AIP, you need to get approved from Nova Scotia Immigration first. That's still a little bit same process like a nominee, but we call it endorsement. It's an employer apply for you. You cannot apply. The employer will apply the endorsement for you, and then you apply for your permanent resident. But you still has to through the Nova
Province.
Scotia Immigration.
So are they also treating like the
Yes.
like the provincial nomination where they are handpicking?
It's about the same.
It's about the same.
Yeah, but AIP, there is no limitation on the AIP. So if I am the cook for like a restaurant or hotel, but my employer is the AIP employer, I still can apply for the employer. The limitation on the nominee program doesn't apply to the AIP program. But there is one thing we talk about, the AIP, which you don't need the experience. That's the international graduate. But there are also 2 programs with the work experience. You can apply for the AIP. This work experience have to be within 5 years. You accumulate 1 year full-time job. And you also get the job offer from the AIP, and the job offer is the same. Depends on your level of your work experience or of your job offer, and you have to meet the language requirement. But the language for the AIP is really low. But no matter it's an international graduate or you have the work experience to be eligible for the AIP, you all has to meet the requirement of the language. If you are tier 0 to tier 3, you have to meet the requirement of CLB 5. And if you are tier 4, you have to meet the requirement of CLB 4. And these are the AIP program.
So if the company is not part of AIP,
not AIP employer,
so if they register, and does the work experience without being under AIP, does it count?
Yes. So the
they
work
can,
experience doesn't have to be with the AIP employer.
okay.
The work experience you even can count back in your home country. Like if I finish one work experience in my home country, and then I find the employer in Nova Scotia,
The same work.
doesn't have to be exactly the same even, because AIP a little bit flexible. It can, like if I get a job offer from the tier 3 job, then I can have like a tier 1, 2, 3. I can combine them to be eligible. It doesn't have to be a specific one. But to be better understanding, you find the same NOC will be better. Yeah, if you get work experience back in your home country and you have 1 year full-time work experience and find the same one with the AIP employer, and you can apply for the program. But this 1 year experience can be your home country, even in BC, anywhere. But within the 5 years you accumulate this 1 year work experience, you can apply for the AIP program.
Sorry, I have a question here.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so the question is, what is the best pathway for those in trades?
In trades?
Yes.
Trades is a huge one. There are construction. For the trades, steel, the Nova Scotia Express Entry, or the AIP.
Okay, so the question, in continuation, it said, if one gets certificate of qualification to transfer your previous skill into Nova Scotia qualification, do you still need employer to be qualified under the federal trades?
You mean like
That you have the experience back home and you're able to transfer those experience to Nova Scotia? Yeah.
like for the trades, like
Yeah, for the
certificate
trade,
transfer,
yes.
right?
Yes.
So it depends on what kind of job you are doing. Because I know, like carpenter, you don't really need to be certified to be the rate sale. Even you just do the carpenter job. I have some clients, they even not the resale of carpenter, they still apply for the carpenter job and got approved on the permanent resident. But some other, I cannot say all of them, but some of the trade, like the occupation, they are highly regulated. You have to be specific on the certificate to be eligible. For example, for electrician, they have to be the certificate to apply for the permanent resident. It depends on the occupation.
What about truck drivers?
What?
Truck drivers. People that
Truck driver?
Yeah, truck.
Truck drivers, you need to have the license, of course, because the driver license, that's a mandatory. Teacher also, it's a regulated job. It has to be, you cannot say, yeah, all this like, what I can suggest is when you find a job and you are uncertain, you can go to search the NOC, this job, and on the employment, it will very specific what's the requirement of this job. Because some job, they are regulated, maybe in Nova Scotia, maybe in BC or in Ontario, but maybe in Nova Scotia is voluntary. You get like regulated. If in this situation, you can apply for the permanent resident. But if in Nova Scotia, this is regulated and it's mandatory, then you have to wait. All this permanent resident application is all based on the requirement of the job, of the specific job.
Okay, thank you. Then
You are
let me
welcome.
ask one more question there. And the question is, will a 1 year full-time volunteering in maybe Nova Scotia Health count towards AIP?
No. Volunteer job cannot. It has to be paid job. And we will still go on with the last one. And then if you have any questions, we can answer the questions. So the last one, if you think accumulate work experience is hard, or you think like find an AIP employer is also hard, and you have some interest to start your own business, there is a specific one for the international graduate in Nova Scotia. And Nova Scotia is a few provinces that has the entrepreneur program for the international graduates. For this program, I'm not like talk very specific about this program. I would just talk briefly what's the eligibility and what you can do with this program. So this program, because it's international graduate, so have to be after you graduate from your study, and then you start your own business, a new business, or you buy an existing business. Both are fine. And you operate the business for at least a year. And after the year, you can apply for the International Graduate Entrepreneur Program. And it's a PMP program. It's the same. Nominee first. After the nominee, you can apply for your permanent resident. And for this program, your previous experience, like as the owner or the senior management, is not required. It's different from the tradition entrepreneur program. For this program, you are the graduates, the owner or the senior management experience is not required. And you don't need to do the net worth verification, which is mandatory on the normal entrepreneur program. So this saves lots of time and money. And you just operate your business in Nova Scotia for a year, and then you can apply for the permanent residence. So you don't go through with any other employers. But there are some requirements. So in your operation in this business, you have to hire one permanent resident or the citizen to work for you. Why this is so funny? And you can... No, it cannot be the relative of you. It has to be a permanent resident or the citizen. You can give them the full-time job, one person full-time job, or you give 2 or 3 person, they equal to a full-time job. And the position you give them, you pay them within the range. The range you can see in the job bank, because Canada make it very specific, from the low to high. What you pay them must be within that range, depends on their position. And after 1 year, you pay them, and also you have to pay yourself. And the pay yourself part is depends on your family size. Yeah, there are specific money, like on your payroll, you pay yourself. When you apply, you need to show the T4 or the notice of assessment to see whether you meet the requirement of the offer you pay yourself. And then after 1 year, you can apply for this program. But don't laugh about this, because this is really good program if you don't want to enter in the employment and find those complicated and working for 1 year experience. How about if you lay off and you find some harsh time working for the employer? Because some people, they will be really interested in open their business. Then this is a good program. What? Financial?
Can I apply? Can I go to bank and seek for loan to start a business?
To
The business you are talking about, like getting a credit, getting a credit from bank, like 500,000 Canadian dollars.
Oh, you mean you start your business with a loan from Canada? Because you have to show the money, where's it from? Yeah. If you don't have any money, how you can let them believe you can really manage this business? And yeah, because if you bring the money, you have to show you have the ability to send it back. And that's more complicated.
I know about this stream. So, okay. I know about it.
Physical business. You mean have an office? It can be online business, but it has to be start and operated in Nova Scotia.
I'm registered.
Yeah.
Would you consider this as a smart substitute to like the investment stream?
Yes.
To the investment stream, right?
Yeah.
Because this is definitely way more cheaper.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So.
And also, sorry, I disturb you on this because the money you put in your business is all your money. And later you can sell this business or you can try your best to work on this, right? You work for the employer, you only get your payroll, what you get. But if you really have the interest to start your own business and you work hard on your own business, you will make money on the business and yourself too.
Yes.
So speaking about that, so that this just came up to my mind. You can also have a full-time job and run your side business, and that would you have the staff you're paying fully. That still qualifies you, or you have to be fully committed to the business. Do they really check that?
You don't need to because like a full-time operate your business. This is a little bit this is not like really mandatory, but you have to pay yourself. Don't forget that. So if you work only 10 hours a week, how can you match the?
No, for example, I'm thinking of a digital business where maybe a logistics business that is being handled by somebody that you are paying full time while you still have your own full time job and you're just overseeing it. You still pay yourself while you're overseeing it. Doesn't have to be the contemporary 9 to 5. I could be working like 6 to 11 to manage my stuff as long as I can account for those hours. So I'm asking it from that perspective as well.
So they didn't specify you have to be 30 hours a week but you have to show you actively manage the business. And also you have one people like a full-time work for you, or maybe a couple people work part-time. So you need to make the arrangements in your documents, like how you arrange all the work together and those
Just
things.
has to be a legitimate business that can actually be proven. And lastly, is there a financial footprint to the scope of this pathway in terms of, you mentioned you have to pay yourself, you have to pay a staff, just one staff, that's fair enough. So aside from that, is there a scope of what the whole business should actually be in the range of, yes, exactly, let me say what of the business? For example, I read recently about the investment stream. It has to be maybe between $300 to $1.2 million.
So there is no limit on the business you invest in the business. So that's why I say I highly recommend this business, because for the regular, like a general entrepreneur program, you will have the net worth requirement and how much money you invest. But this program, you don't have specific money, how much money you invest in your business. But you have to show you can support yourself and the business.
This is just Nova Scotia, right? Is this just Nova Scotia?
This is only for Nova Scotia graduate. So even this one is from Ontario, they cannot apply for this, even they start the business.
Sorry, I didn't get what you just said. Please.
I say if people, they graduate from Ontario, they come to Nova Scotia, start a Nova Scotia business, they're only eligible for the entrepreneur, but not eligible for the National Graduate Entrepreneur Program. This is only for the Nova Scotia International Graduate.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay.
So Becky, I have a question. So if you take out a loan, to start the business, and then you run the business for a year, file your taxes, and hopefully you make profits, and use the profit to run for the second year, can you then apply for the stream using your second year's statements?
You mean manage the business for 2 years and then apply for this
So
program?
the first year you took out a loan, right? But the second year you made profit, and you're now using your profits from the first year to run for the second year. Can you then apply for the stream showing your second year proceeds?
Because for this program, it's extremely important, like show this can establish in Nova Scotia. So when you take the loan from some other place, it cannot say easily like a no or yes, but it's take more documents and more things to describe and let them believe this business thing. What? Approve the... Yeah. Yeah, if you get the gift from your parents, that's fine. That's the money from that's fine. But get a loan from somewhere and you need to pay the interest and many things, you need to persuade them you can pay all this money back and still make profit. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
If I've done my business projection and the startup amount is $10,000, and from that business I can generate to pay at least salary to myself and either a permanent resident or citizen.
But that's not reality because the people you hire, if they work full time, you will see approximately $20,000 to $30,000 a year you pay them, and for yourself, it's another about $30,000 to $40,000 to pay yourself.
Yeah.
So with all this money,
so Becky,
no, it's not for everyone. This
for
program for entrepreneur, it's not for everyone. It's for the people they maybe have the interest to start a business and they want to go for it. But it's not. That's why we didn't the first one. Highly recommend everybody go the international entrepreneur program.
Yeah. So because I've heard you present on this in-depthly,
Yes.
at my office, I know for sure that you said it can be more than one person. It could be a partnership.
Yes.
It could be a corporation.
Yes.
Where 2 or 3 people come together and do this.
Yes.
And I know that you also said in that presentation that it's different for when you buy an already existing business.
Yes.
The eligibility changes than when you're starting up the business.
Yes,
So-
because this one is a score based. So just now, what we're talking about the eligibility, that's only the basic requirement. So you meet this requirement, and also you will be selected based on the score. So they will. It's like the express entry draw. Like they will draw and select the score. If you meet the requirement, they will invite you to apply for this program. And if you buy the existing business or start the new business, they have different score. If you start your own new business, you don't have 0 score in the score system. But if you buy the existing one, you get 5 extra scores in the score system. And also, if you start this as an export business, you will have extra 5 score also. If you buy existing business and shares, if you buy the existing business, no matter you buy existing or you start a business, you can have a couple partners, but each of your partner have to at least holding the 33.33% of the shareholder. So about like 3 people you can share, and each of you holding this much on the shareholder. And everybody have their scores. Who doesn't meet the score, who will not be selected for the permanent resident.
So, excuse me. So I have a question.
Sorry.
If you are you are presently in school and probably you're finishing very soon, and then because of couple of there's this information about the paramedic program that the Nova Scotia is sponsoring, and you probably decide to go to another school. I learned from an RSSA call that it's possible to have a two study valid permit. Is it possible?
Yes, you can study 2 different programs.
No. You are still having a valid permit for a study permit, and you are still in school, and literally probably you are almost done, like you're having projects, and then you gain another admission, is it possible to have two valid study permits? Because that's what the RSC
You
says.
have to. You have to. Because
Is
right
it
now,
possible?
yes.
It's valid.
This is the thing right now, IRCC changed the policy. Is like if you, this depends on the level of your study. So they divided, like if you, like primary, secondary, that's the one level. And your like post-secondary, like your diploma, college level, and also the bachelor degree, that level, they are the same level. And the master and PhD are the same level. So if you are the same level, you are in the same DLI, same institution, you just change the program. You don't need to apply for the new study permit. But if you apply from the bachelor and then change to the master degree, even in the same institution, you have to apply for the new study permit.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, I'm going to give myself as a scenario. I'm doing my post back at CBU and I'm done by December. Then I applied for another study because Nova Scotia is sponsoring a particular program for a paramedic. And the program is supposed to start by October. But I'm going to run through school by December. I'm done with school by December. My question is, because I need another study permit to run another program while doing my project, can I apply for another study permit for that particular program while still completing my studies? Is it possible?
Oh.
I'm having a project, okay? Project doesn't require you to be in school. And project is done online, right? I'm having a project to be done and it's done online. And I'm trying to enter another school that required my full-time, of studies. My question is, because that's what the RSC lady said. She said, oh, sure, you can apply for two, you can have a two valid study permit. But she said, oh, I will recommend you talk to a immigration consultant, regardless of whatever she said. So to me, I didn't.
IRCC recommends you to ask an immigration consultant.
Yeah. That was what she said to me on the phone.
Can I recommend you ask IRCC? Because this situation is a little bit severe. It's not everybody gets through this. It's possible you can have like a both study permit, and you finish one and then you finish another one. But there is one thing is because when you apply for your postgraduate work permit, right? If you don't apply for the postgraduate work permit after the first one at the CBU, then you don't need to worry about this. You just finish your thing and get the completion letter, and you work on the second one. But if you, like later when you apply, I don't know the situation. Maybe you want to combine the two programs to be eligible for the postgraduate work permit, right? Or you don't care about the first one at all. Because what I say this is your study, whether it's a part-time or full-time, will affect your postgraduate work permit application.
Yeah, so Becky, I knew someone who had the same situation. In fact, she got the scholarship for the paramedic from Nova Scotia government, and she had just graduated, but she wasn't using her work permit because she had already started this thing. But because it was more than 6 months, it was a 1-year program. She had to get a new study permit, and she couldn't get it within time, so she had to drop out of the program. So you need to get a study permit if whatever you're going to do is more than 6 months.
So what I say is you can apply, you can get both like the study permit. But what matters is that when you apply for your postgraduate work permit, you will show IRCC the transcript. So they will know whether you are part-time or the full-time. Only the part-time will be applied to the last semester. You only need part-time to finish your study. Then that's fine for your postgraduate work permit. That's what I mean. When you apply for the postgraduate work permit, that will affect that. But yes, you can apply this study permit and have both, and do your study? That's the answer? Still not? Wow. Yes. Any questions? No? Any questions online?
Okay. Yeah, I think the question I have here is what happens to the Canadian experience class where we only have to go to school in this province? Has it been scrapped?
Sorry, I didn't.
Is that what happened to Canadian experience class?
CEC.
Yes. That we only have to school in this province. That has it been cancelled?
No, the CEC doesn't count any work experience when you full-time study. So if you want to apply for the CEC program, it has to be after you graduate and you can accumulate the 15, 60 hours to be eligible for the CEC program. But there is another thing. If you have at least like 1 year work experience back in your home country and you get the job offer from Canada employer, you may eligible for the federal skilled worker program, but that's another thing. But for the CEC, no. You have to accumulate the 1 year experience in Canada after you graduate. Any other questions?
So the question I have for you now is about visitors visa.
Visitor.
Okay, so what are the best conditions to turn a visitor's visa to a super visiting visa?
To what?
Super visiting visa.
It's two different things. Because the visitor visa is for anyone. Super visa is only for the parents and grandparents of the permanent resident. It's two different things.
Oh.
Not everybody will be eligible for the super visa.
Oh.
Any other questions? So if there is no
just one more,
okay.
Becky, sorry. If a student is changing from a regular study permit for secondary school to the college or university, the study permit, is it going to be
No, it's a new study permit.
It's a new study permit.
Yeah, like I said just now, because the category, the different level. So primary, secondary are one level, the college another level. When you get admission to another level, you need a new study permit, the offer, and the PAL to apply for the new study permit.
You're applying it to be ticked off as a new study permit,
Yes.
not as an extension.
Yes.
Someone's asked a question online. As a visitor, can you apply to school for a course less than 6 months?
Yes. If you have a study, if you have the visitor and you want to study less than 6 months, you don't need a study permit. Even like postgraduate work permit is the same. If you're holding the postgraduate work permit and you want to study a program less than 6 months, you don't need a study permit. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Let's appreciate Becky. Thank you so much, Becky. Good job. All right, so I have Becky's details here. Relaunch Immigration. You can email Becky at Becky at relaunchimmigration.com. Becky at relaunchimmigration.com. Are you fine with me saying your number, Becky? Are you fine with me saying your number right now? Online 8820686. I'll say it again. 782 8820686. Email is Becky, that's BECKY, Becky at relauncimmigration.com. Right. Okay, so there's another phone number 902 989 1888. Can you say that again, please? 902 989 1888. All right. Thank you so much, Becky. We do appreciate your time. And if you have any other comments, any questions, you can reach out to us. Then we'll reach out to Becky for you. And then, sorry? Oh, they're already calling you? No, don't. Right. Okay. No problem. I would have said they should go through me first,
So,
before
Pastor,
they reach you.
Pastor,
Yes.
so can we get free consultant for the first time we reach out?
Free what?
Consultant for the first time we reach out to her, or based on Redeem, like on the platform, just.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. No, it's just been, that will be an offline discussion anyway. All right. Thank you everyone for spending time with us. I'd like us to just pray and then we will go. Shall we pray, everyone? Father, we thank you. In Jesus' name. Father, we thank you. Thank you for this time and this learning session. Thank you for Becky that you have brought to us to dish out the knowledge. And Lord, we know that you have brought all of us to this land for a reason and for a purpose. We're trusting in you. We're resting on you. That, Lord, you will fulfill your purpose for each and every one of us. And we will all be established in the land. In the name of Jesus. Thank you, precious Father. As we go, please let your presence go with us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you, everyone. Do have a lovely rest of your evening. We're inviting you to church tomorrow. We have Thanksgiving. Please come fellowship with us.